Amid the noise of the modern world, you immediately recognize that person who stands far from the crowds, carrying in their eyes the weight of a life that has never been fully told. The one sitting alone at the farthest table in a cafe, or riding the bus while not looking out the window but inward, watching their own inner world instead. Someone who, despite being surrounded by people, seems to exist within an invisible circle. Perhaps as you listen to these words now, you realize that the person being described is not as distant as you once thought. The dignified yet weary silence unique to those who have lived through too much, who have calmed countless storms within the folds of their soul, is no coincidence. This silence does not come from lack, but from excess. The world often labels them as cold, distant, or emotionless, yet this quiet is a conscious defense, carefully built to suppress the chaos within. That person is you, because you have seen too much, carried too much, and learned through repeated disappointment that noise heals nothing. They mistake you for shy, when in truth you simply know how futile words can be. You have realized that not every emotion grows lighter by being spoken, that some pains only find their place in silence. Sometimes, remaining silent feels more honest than explaining. The truth is, this is not an escape, it is a defense mechanism. This silence is not a flag of surrender, but the composed signature of survival, developed to avoid taking any more wounds. When we descend into the psychological foundations of this state, two core realities emerge: emotional exhaustion and hyperarousal. A mind exposed to excessive trauma, disappointment, or prolonged stress eventually shifts into self-protection. To prevent further pain, the soul lowers the volume of its senses. The inner child who once reacted instantly to everything, who felt every emotion at its extremes, now experiences life as if watching events from behind glass. This numbness is not a rupture, it is a temporary balance the mind creates to keep you standing. Hyperarousal, on the other hand, is the nervous system remaining on constant alert, as if danger could appear at any moment. From the outside, the person may seem calm, even detached, but inside, thousands of thoughts race every second. Every gesture, every glance, every change in tone is silently analyzed. The mind endlessly anticipates what might happen, dissecting even the unsaid endings of unfinished sentences. It is like a tired warrior who never releases their sword, even in sleep. The body may rest, but the soul remains on watch. That is why you wake up tired, because night never truly closes. This silence is not only a shield, it is also a filter. People often wonder why those who have lived through so much keep so few people around them. The answer is simple. You no longer have tolerance for the noise of petty calculations, shallow conversations, and display window dialogue. You know what superficial gossip, hollow compliments, and words spoken merely to fill space take away from your spirit. You have learned how limited your energy is, and the cost of where and to whom you give it. That is why you are selective. That is why you sometimes appear distant, even to those closest to you. In truth, you are not distant, you simply live in depth, and staying on the surface for too long exhausts you. While others lightly brush past emotions, you make contact with them in their full weight. This can make you feel lonely even among crowds. Yet this loneliness is not an emptiness. It is one of the rare spaces where you can truly connect with yourself. However, this depth comes with the burden of hyper-awareness. You are the first to sense the tension in a room, the hidden sting in someone's words, the unspoken resentment lingering in the air. Even while resting, you cannot fully rest, because your mind continues in the background, sorting possibilities and weighing risks. That is why solitude is not a preference for you, but a necessity demanded by your nervous system. Only when you are alone can you slightly lower the volume of that inner radar. One of the greatest pains in this process is guilt. You may feel guilty for protecting yourself, for placing distance between you and the world, or even for feeling peaceful at times. Because your subconscious has learned to interpret calm as the silence before a storm. Whenever something good happens, it instinctively expects a price to be paid. But now you must know this. What happened when you lowered your guard was not your weakness, it was the nature of life. And even with your guard down, you possess more than enough inner strength to survive those storms. The roots of this dark forest often stretch far back into the past. Perhaps you had to grow up too early. Perhaps responsibilities no child should bear were placed on your shoulders at a young age. Trauma is not only the bad things that happened, it is also the absence of the good things that should have happened but didn't. That absence continues to echo quietly inside a person, even years later. If you were criticized where you should have been loved, left alone where you should have been protected, your soul had no choice but to develop a survival strategy. What once kept you standing back then has now transformed into the composed silence you call your character today. That prematurely grown child within you is now your wisest part. What you owe them now is to whisper that you are safe, that the watch is over, and that you no longer have to carry everything alone. And remember, this darkness is, in fact, the source of your greatest light. To have lived through so much is to be freed from the false glitter of superficiality. You now sense people's masks before their words. Pain either consumes a person or clarifies them. You are someone who survived those storms, and whose light, leaking through the cracks, unknowingly illuminates those around you. In the end, this state of being is not a flaw or a malfunction that needs fixing. It is a rare clarity that has remained untainted in the noise of this world. You have learned the power of whispering where everyone else is shouting. You carry the melancholic yet noble dignity of having lived through too much. You are not alone, you are legitimate, and you are worthy exactly as you are. Remember, the deepest seas are the calmest on the surface.